This morning it looks like it's SRO for AP. I like to speak in acronyms. That means standing room only for Alan Parsons. Let me hear you. Problem with speaking in acronyms is you often have to explain yourself, so you've wasted the time you've saved using an acronym. My name is Mike Dawson. Please welcome one of my dearest friends in the entire world, and believe me, I know I am blessed to say that, Alan Parsons. Where to start?
Well, if this is Q A, there must be an awful lot of Qs.
I see quite a few of them out there. Everyone is itching to get on the microphone and speak to Alan. But first, I always wonder, how do we start these things? How do you start a Q&A? And I try to think back into something special.
There's a great movie called Cruise of the Gods. Has anybody seen it? Cruise of the Gods? It's about a cruise ship, and it's about a fan cruise, but it's actors, not pop star. And the script writer is there, and he walks on to the mic and says, "By the way, I will not be answering questions on where do I get my ideas from." But you can ask that question.
If you couldn't ask that question, it would cut out 95% of all of the questions, I believe.
I do recommend that movie. It's on Netflix.
Cruise of the Gods.
You'd love it.
Okay, I'm gonna look at that. I remember a story you told me a long time ago, and I'm always, as a radio guy, I'm always fascinated at the way bands take their names, or sometimes bands are given their names without knowing it. And I remember you told me a long time ago that when you were at Abbey Road and working on your first album with Eric, the suits at Abbey Road were curious what's happening inside of Alan's room, and they just said, What's going on with that Alan Parsons project? And that's the way it stuck.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of the act being known as the Alan Parsons Project was a very last minute thing. I mean, we just referred to it as the project. Or,
okay.
Other people would say the Alan Parsons Project. Didn't know it was going to be on the album cover as the Alan Parsons Project.
Was it the suits who eventually made that call and put it on the album cover?
I think it was the label. It was 20th century records in Los Angeles.
Now, my follow-up question to that is, did any of these people who were speaking of the project, did they have access to the room? Could they hear anything? Did they hear any of the music, or was it just a scuttlebutt around the studio?
Anybody passing the control room or the studio could obviously hear it. But we tended to keep the song titles a secret. We would give them alternative titles.
Like what?
Or Cask of Amontillado was called Medium Dry Sherry or something. The Raven was called The Raver.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Very cool. So, of course, 50 years later, when I'm going through the tapes, trying to think, what the hell is that song? I have no idea what that is. But we figured it out.
So you were true to the gimmick and wrote it on the tape as well?
We quite recently released the first album in a box set. Did anybody get hold of the box set? Oh, we sold one. Just so you know, Pyramid is coming out in the box set later this year, probably in the summer, and it will include a Dolby Atmos mix for the first time. So.
By the way, everyone, Alan
and nobody in the room has Dolby Atmos, right? Yeah. Same guy.
Alan, by the way, celebrated his 75th birthday in December. Happy birthday. Alan and I met 25 years ago. We met 25 years ago, and your wife Lisa pulled me aside one time and she said, I want you to hang out more because Alan needs the young people around him to keep him young. And Alan, we're not young anymore. We're gonna need to get a new group of young kids.
Well, yeah, none of us are getting any young.
But speaking of which, your band, some of the greatest and most phenomenal musicians in the world. You've been playing with some of them for almost 30 years, over 30 years. How long have you been with PJ?
PJ came into the fold, I think, in 2003, 2004.
So it'll be 20 years. I don't do math in public.
No, what am I talking about? 1990.
Okay.
No, we moved to Santa Barbara in 2000, so yeah, it would have been a couple of years after that. But the English band, the English live band, we toured with them in the late 90s. Then when I moved to America, ostensibly to get married to Lisa, we started a new all-American band, other than myself, of course. And that's evolved over the years. We had quite a few personnel changes.
What made you decide to move to America? I never asked you that.
I just like the American way. I found that, particularly in the UK, I mean, I know there are Brits here, but I think London has become a bit of a foreign country. It's not England anymore, and that's probably why.
It's a King song, right? Yeah.
So and I visited Santa Barbara with my previous wife and stayed maybe a year or so. It was Christopher Cross, who used to be a resident of Santa Barbara. He turned me on to the town, so you've got to come and see Santa Barbara, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And said, yeah, I got to live here.
Yeah. And we are going to turn this over to the audience in just a couple of minutes, because I know you guys got your questions, and I get plenty of time with Alan to talk about things. But I've always been curious, and I've also never asked you this. Some of the concepts of your records are, let's say, lofty, intelligent, thought-provoking. The Spanish Basilica, La Sagrada Familia, Isaac Asimov, Edgar Allan Poe. Were you a big reader growing up? Did you read a lot?
I've never been a reader, you know. I mean, with the exception of Poe, I did read Poe, but to this day, I really never just don't seem to have the time to read a book.
So when you do, when you're in a concept album like I Robot, or are you using the Cliff Notes? Just the Cliff Notes, for those of you who don't know, it used to be the way for us to cheat on our papers in high school. You didn't have to read the book, you just read the Cliff Notes and you get the gist of it. Or were you just familiar with stories and people and
I think I would give Eric Wilson the credit for coming out with the concepts, and he certainly came up with the Poe idea, and I jumped at that chance. We were going to make the second album based on witchcraft, but Eric thought a science fiction basis was more appropriate. And then Pyramid, which was the witchcraft album, just turned into Pyramid. It wasn't Pyramid until we recorded several of the songs.
Okay. Very cool. I think it would be a good idea to open it up to questions. I may need to get out in the audience. We do have a crowd mic right here. If you have a question and keep it quick, come on up and just use the microphone right here. Introduce yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Nancy Carl, I've always wanted to ask a great musician.
Do me a favor, get right into that microphone.
I've always wanted to ask a great musician this question. When you write a song or you're hearing a new song, what is it about it that clicks and you think, that's good, that's a keeper? I like that song. Is it the melody, the lyrics?
Are you talking about my own writing or other people's?
Yeah.
I've been fortunate in that I've rejected very few of my own compositions. If I've written something, I want to record it in music. So,
is there something about other people's music that?
Yeah, I mean that's the job of a record producer to take a song and say, well, that's a great piece of composition. Let's make it into a hit. You know, yeah, that's the job.
That reminds me, I had the great honor of working on one of my own records with you, and I had changed one lyric, I changed one word in the song, and I ran up to you and I said, Alan, I've got it. This is the word. And you looked at me and said, well, that's the difference between a hit and not, right? So yeah, great question. Go ahead, sir.
Alan, good to see you again, Larry.
Hey.
Good to see you. Once again, thanks a lot for your lifetime of license work. Continues to inspire us all.
You get a little closer.
Continues to inspire us all. And it's gone cross-generational. My daughter arranged Silence and I for her L choir and recorded it. It's posted on your fan Facebook page. So it's reaching all new levels of composition. What I wanted to ask.
Did that it got recorded, right? I think I may have heard it.
Yes, it's on your Facebook fan page. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice arrangement.
Thank you very much. I'll let her know. But what I wanted to ask, if you have any humorous or technical stories about working with George Martin and the Beatles way back that formed the foundation for your career, any good learnings or humorous stories?
You'll have to wait for my book. I could talk all day about Beatles and George Martin stories, but my earliest introduction to the Beatles was really quite traumatic, actually. I was assigned to go to the Apple studios and be a tape operator because they hadn't employed anybody to do tapes. I just walked in, they were all four Beatles: Linda Eastman, Yoko Ono, George Martin, Ken Jones. Quite a moment. And I'm sure I went absolutely peach-colored.
You know, throughout your career, Alan, you've with the Live project and other projects throughout your time, you've done a lot of work with symphonies. You played in Colombia with a symphony, in Tel Aviv with a symphony. I'm sure other places as well. It seems very appropriate that you should be playing backed by an amazing symphony. When you're putting those shows together, how much are you directing this? How much is the composer of the symphony doing this? How much music needs to be transposed? And did you ever think that, oh no, now I have to write this for a bassoon?
Well, I don't really take credit for the orchestral arrangements. That was a guy called Andrew Powell that I worked with throughout the project years. I originally met him through the late, recently the late Steve Harley. I might come up with a little string line or an oboe line, and he would write it down. I had the distinct joy of conducting an orchestra on the last album, because the arranger and conductor, Tom Brooks, was taken suddenly ill right before the session. But I absolutely loved conducting this way.
Is that something you pick it up, you're into it?
Yeah, I conducted. I'd written and conducted a string quartet with Al Stewart, actually. But it's quite something to have 50 people.
Is that available for public consumption, or was it just a one-off? Did it get recorded?
Oh, it got recorded. Yeah, it was the last album.
Okay.
The New World, from the New World. Yes, we are making records, by the way.